This video is video number 2 of a 2-video series. If you found this video first, I would strongly encourage you to watch the one right in front of it. The thumbnail is almost identical, just as introduction on it, but it gives a much more complete context to what I'm about to say. And I think in this particular case, you'll see it'll be plainly obvious pretty quickly. The context is rather important. These 2 videos are really for the guy that's put the work in his life, been a good dad, done his best to be a good husband, all those things, and just, man, it hadn't worked out so well. And you can't control everybody, particularly every adult around you. That's not a reasonable goal, in my opinion. But I paid the price, took the big hit, and reorganized my life completely. And it's worked out really well. Just this morning, I was shaving, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful that I did this, and this is really one of the better things I've done. It's just so much less stress, so much easier. It's important not to fall into the same tracks because we're used to being providers, givers, doers, enablers, enabling in a good way, enabling people to live their dreams, have all the things they want. And sometimes I find myself consciously having to slow myself down, or like again today, a really good friend of mine reminded me, Rob, he goes, don't do that other stuff. He goes, you really think you're doing it for other people, you're really just doing it for you, and it's the wrong thing. He goes, you gotta keep your pension, and your future now is really for you first. And hey, first rule of life saving. I was in a life saving class, first rule. They taught us to save ourselves. I remember putting my hand up and going, hey, what kind of life-saving class is this? And the teacher goes, hey, if you're not here, who are you going to save? And I'm like, oh, all right, point made. So anyways, without any further delay, here's the part 2. We're through the bulk of the hot season. Really nice weather, really nice. Yeah, just picking restaurants that we're going to go to with my son, and it's just nice. And we should have the 2-bedroom apartment by then. Should have the new apartment. So I'll have gotten, I mean, really, I had this huge list of like monster things to change my life. It was like 5 or 6 things to totally, hang on, I'm going to get into a whole long conversation on that. Let me take a break here. This is Fawn's campus. This is the facility she runs. There's multiple government offices on this campus, but the educational building she runs. This is the shared pavilion. So I actually have written content for today, which is super rare. Regular viewers of the channel will know this. I started with 5, ended up with 10. 10 steps that changed my life. That sounds dramatic. Okay, so here's some things I did. And this is for the guy, and this is going to be a male perspective. This is going to be a middle-aged or senior male perspective, Western male, obviously. I have seen this before, and I used to pity these guys, and then I was surprised that I became one. I mean, I knew I wasn't super happy in my life, but I made myself happy, and so I knew my circumstances weren't ideal, and I knew that I didn't in like real happy circumstances, but I was successful daily in making myself happy, and I'd built a good life around myself. I learned that lesson from my art teacher, Mr. Horning. He's probably no longer with us by now. He wasn't a spring chicken back in the 70s, so. But then I realized that this guy that maybe wasn't the highest functioning adult in my life at the time had built this little happy corner of the world for himself. He functioned, he paid his bills, he had his little car that he liked, and he did art for a living, and he didn't have anybody really bothering him that I could see. And I'm thinking, maybe that's the point of life, is to build like a happy little corner of the world for yourself. That's what I kind of concluded and drew from that. And I know nothing at this point, some 45 years later, that would say that's wrong. And fast forward, and I was in a long-term stable marriage. Okay, it was a stable marriage, If I would have just continued to play ball with the rules that my first wife had defined, I could have stayed married. That was absolutely a choice I could have continued to make. But I had noticed a number of other men around my age, and they were not happy with the choices they had made, with the circumstances that they had then found themselves in. They were not so happy anymore. And I pitied them. And to be honest, I kind of looked down on them a little bit. I thought, oh, who are these guys? You know, they're not able to keep a long-term marriage together, probably selfish, you know. I don't know why I did this. You get the idea, you know, and then some years later, probably more like 10 years later, I found myself starting to look around, and regular viewers will know this. It was my spine really quickly unraveled through the gyms being I was a super crazy workout maniac. I was a gym rat. I was semi-retired already, out of necessity. I knew I had, you know, bad back. You know, who doesn't have a bad back, right? So no big deal. But when COVID shut all the gyms down, I couldn't do my therapy anymore. After a couple of months, my back began to kind of unravel. So, but that put a timetable on me, because then it was like, well, geez, you know, do I want to spend, I mean, how many more years of mobility do I have? I'm not happy. You know, this kind of sucks, you know, socially, emotionally, romantically, you know, just in terms of like my heart. I mean, I don't care if you think you're made of stone or not. You know, don't need these when I got the mic. You know, whether or not you think you're made of stone, you're going to care if people love you or not. You're going to care if you're hated or despised or not. And you're going to care. I mean, so all that to say, that put a fine point on it for me. And I began to take steps, as they say. So this ended up with being, it kind of did stop organically at 10, which sounds like a fake number, but 10 steps I took that changed my life. 10 steps that I did take that did change my life. And they're kind of in order, I think. First, I got therapy. You know, when the marriage counseling didn't work, or I was the only person that wanted to go to marriage counseling, then really the marriage counseling probably wasn't gonna go so hot, you know. So I got therapy for myself, and that helped a ton. So if you're not happy, my point is, my friend, if you're watching this video and you're not super happy at your circumstances, you don't feel you've gotten a fair portion for your work and your effort and your loyalty and the emotion and the heart you put into something, your life, you know, whatever aspect of your life, maybe start with some therapy. Because you don't want to make huge major life decisions like when you're all kind of effed up in your thinking. You know, you want to kind of get some therapy, get your head right. And, you know, a disinterested third party is the best. Friends can only help you so much. They know you too well. You want a cold, dispassionate look. You want to be the bug in the microscope and let a professional tell you what the hell's going on, because it really does help. I ended a long-term dysfunctional marital relationship. You know, I mean, it is what it is, you know. And not saying anybody was a bad guy, and I'm not saying I was some innocent angel and she was a devil. No, this angels and devils stuff doesn't fly. It's almost never true. And that analysis would not be true. And I have a lot of friends that say, oh yeah, you know, and she did a lot of things she shouldn't have done, okay? But ultimately, everybody did some wrong, and it just wasn't working. You know, one thing I have learned in life, and you've probably noticed this by now yourself, that people are different with different people. I used to have this one friend, an architect I worked with when I was CEO of a construction company, a pretty big one at that point. I was a young guy, young hot shit executive kind of thing, where you're wearing a suit to work every day and all that. And for some reason, when we were together, I became a comedian. I'm cracking jokes left and right, and we're both laughing, and we're just having a great time. Why was that? And other people, I'm somber. Why? You know, so we might have just been bad together. You know, so what's the point in making blame? It's done. The third thing I did that really changed my life is I learned to speak and hear and understand and read and write Thai. I'm not fluent. I'm not anywhere near close yet, but I'm on a path to become fluent probably in another, you know, God only knows, 5 or 10 more years. I don't know. Got a couple surgeries to fix my broken back. Probably going to have one more here within the next year. And maybe we'll really get it fixed here, and that might buy me 10 or 15 years of mobility. That could be a big deal. That was step number 4. Step number 5, I lost 50 pounds of fat. Kept almost all my muscle just based on like measurements, like how big my arms are, how big my chest is, how thick my legs are and stuff. My strength is way down though, but a lot of that I think is pinched nerves, and I've got a lot of arthritis, and I'm getting some kind of nerve problem. So, and nerves fire the muscles. So I think that's my body is just sort of like, hey, you can't do this anymore. I don't have the brute strength. I used to be really, like I would get respect in the gym for like how strong I was. There was like a top 20 or so guys in the gym that could move big weight, and I was maybe on the bottom of that list, but I would be on that list. I gave up every insincere friendship, and this came as advice from a good friend of mine. Hi, Paul. Looking forward to being on your patio, pal, when I get back. My good friend Paul, and one of the most emotionally intelligent friends I have. Many of my friends are more emotionally intelligent than I am, and I really mean that, but Paul was amongst the very most emotionally intelligent, and he is a really smart guy anyways. But he gave me some rather shocking advice as the divorce was proceeding, and my ex-wife and I were going to be splitting up, and we were living separate lives for the last couple of years anyways. I own 2 homes, and we were rarely in the same home together. So, I mean, what the hell is that, right? But it was getting really separate. It was getting real separate. So he said, go through your social media and just unfriend everybody that really isn't really your friend. And everyone that you know through your soon-to-be ex-wife, he goes, they're not really your friend. They're going to side with her. Don't even try it. Unless you want to fight. I don't want to fight. He goes, I know you don't. He goes, just give it up. Just unfriend him and just pull the Band-Aid, do it one shot, it's clean, and just do it. And I did it. And I went, usually the rule is 3 times. You text or call somebody 3 times and they don't get back to you, you just got to let it go. And they'll if they ever want to talk to you, they'll let you know. I put that down to 1. Nung krang, 1 time. Everybody knew I was going through some shit. Everybody knew, gee, Rob, you just had 2 spine surgeries. You lost 50 pounds. You look shockingly different. You got loose skin hanging everywhere because of the massive weight loss and the stress from the surgery and the divorce and everything of 29 years. So if no one can think to reach out and call and say, hey, man, I love you. I'm thinking about you during all that. I guess that really isn't a friend now, is it? Number 7, I actually did this first, but number 7 on my list, but it was the first thing I did. I sold every extraneous possession. My collection of Swiss watches that I rarely wore or worried about scratching all the time if I did wear them. And you're not even supposed to wear them all that much because you put clasp the bracelet, then the bracelet scratches inside itself. So you'll see people wearing theirs with like saran wrap or Scotch tape inside, and then, or you say, screw it, I'm just going to wear it, and you're literally trashing this rather expensive timepiece and some of these do actually go up every year in value, but not when they're scratched. So, this is stupid. What did I have that crap for? And then the guns. And my friend and I owned a gun range together, and yet every fall it was the same conversation. Oh, next year we're going to do some shooting. Next year I'm going to dial in that Swiss rifle I bought 10 years ago, but I still haven't dialed in. We're going to get out, and we never did. I mean, every 4th year, every 5th year, we did actually go out and take a day of shooting and dial in maybe 1 rifle. I own 40 guns or more or whatever. One night I'm lying in my bed and I'm getting ready, waiting to fall asleep, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I had guns and some ammo and stuff in the top shelf of my master bedroom closet. And I'm like, well, what happens if we have a house fire? Let's just say the fire starts closer to the guns and the ammunition than me. So before I wake, do I wake to the sounds of gunfire and then I'm going to break the first rule of owning a gun, which is don't get shot with your own shit? And pardon my language. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, I'm a construction guy, so I built a closet out. I lined a closet with concrete. The big surprise on that was how little I missed anything. How very little. Really crazy when you think about all that time and energy I put into that, and I sell it and I never miss it. So how misguided was that? Number 8, move to Thailand. Now, not permanently and not 12 months out of the year, okay? I have a daughter and a son back home and some very close friends. I have virtually no family, but I do have very close friends that are like family to me. So I'm planning on a 10-2 split, 10 months here, 2 and back home. It's the opposite of Davo's split. Davo's split is 10 months back home and 2 months here. And that's not outing Davo, that's what he talks about on his channel, and that's just how he does it. I think I'll be fine with that, and that's my plan. I was going to do it last year, but I couldn't do the air travel. My back was in so much pain, I wouldn't survive the air travel, and I might not literally have survived it, not knowing at the time that my spinal fusion had infused. I could have actually injured myself, which would not be fun. So, moving on. Number 9, I now select all my relationships, friendships, romantic, which just includes fun, obviously, or right now only fun. It's got to pass a test of all the old ones. If you're not functional, if you're not a reasonable human being by my definition, if you're not somewhat wanting things in my best interests, on and on down the list, right? If you can't do that, and I don't give a rat's ass who you are, I don't want you in my life, I don't need you, you know? If you're some whacked out whatever the hell, you know, I don't need it. So I'm back to my original rule I had as a young man. I'm real picky who I associate with. No one that'll embarrass me. I don't like being embarrassed, and I don't like embarrassing people. And you're the average of your 5 closest friends. So choose wisely. Oh, and the number 10, this is a big one. This should come last. I've really focused on moving in, not pursuing happiness, but moving within happiness, in being my own happiness every minute of every day. I have more than enough to be happy, I mean, for God's sakes. If retiring in the Issan region is not going to put a fine point on that, I don't know what ever will. I am so blessed and so fortunate. And I really have everything I truly want. I'm kind of half thinking about it. I have found a motorcycle I'm quite intrigued by, and I may go sit on one. And if I sit on one, it means I may buy one. I may just say, shit, I don't care. So we'll see. We'll see how I feel. But that isn't a possession, that's a user experience, as my son would tell me, and my son would tell you. We'll talk about that in a sec. But no, I'm focused on moving within my own happiness every minute of every day of every week, and all that. And I really mean that. I am a happy guy. I go to sleep every night. I go to sleep every night thinking, oh, tomorrow morning I get to have coffee. You know, and I love making my little cup of coffee. And I as much as I don't crave it anymore because my sugar addiction's gone away. I mean, it's just gone. I was addicted to sugar my whole life, and now it's gone. So getting rid of the negative people in my life that did not really have my best interests at heart. In fact, they had my not best interests at heart, if you follow the difference. That really takes the stress off you, and then you don't crave all the crutches. Crazy. Anyway, so, and then not acquiring versus I'm doing this happiness thing versus I'm not interested in acquiring. Like, I don't need to, well, I'm going to get that other watch. I'm going to get that other, I'm going to have 5 motorcycles and I'll line them up. I'm going to name them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You know, no, you know, I just want functional things. The possessions I do like. Now, there are some I like, but this follows my son's logic of a good user experience. I really appreciate these. These were $300 US. They were 9,000 some bought. Apple AirPods Pro 2. But they're fantastic. I use them for 2 or 3 hours every day. So the user experience I get from these, the money is incidental, right? You know, if I end up with this one motorcycle I'm particularly intrigued by, just to sit on it and just see how it treats I just want to see how it treats my back. Is it like magic for my back, or is it eh? 'Cause I'm curious to know. It'll tell me a lot about what I could do, because I really do enjoy motorcycling, and it is the least expensive type of transportation. I'm focused on, I'm not interested in acquiring, like I used to watch these Mecum auctions and collector car, muscle car, vintage muscle car auctions and such. I would go, you know, a 70 Gran Torino Super Cobra jet. Oh my gosh, I got to have that. Oh, 71 Hemi Cuda dream car, you know. And, you know, got to have a 70 Buick GSX in it. Oh, God, oh my gosh, got to have one, got to have one. I see it and I got to have it. Now, I don't know if I'd want it if you gave it to me. It's weird how I feel now. It's such a mind shift. And I'm just happy all the time. So Oh, and I had a really good cup of coffee today. I went back to the guy, the young guy used to make my coffee, and then Calabao opened up a shop, and well, you know, now I'm back to him. I kind of feels good to go back with the little individual dude. Nah, yeah. So, and I was hard on Fawn last night. She said a couple things I didn't like, and I immediately said, no, you cannot. That's it. That's done. Stop. And she did. I just can't take any more crap anymore. Anyway, so that's my vlog. I have to break this up into a couple parts. I don't know. Sorry if I have to do that to you. Ridiculous motorcycle bonus video. Oh, I'll do my own bonus footage. I hate to watch it because I kind of almost like sort of virtually did like a boycott of his channel because I'm not sure I really like the person, Yami Noob. And some of his videos are outright annoying. They're unwatchable to me. He's so annoying. But in all honesty, he is a well-respected motorcyclist. He is a smart guy. And dang it, you know, I want to not watch his channel, but he comes up with really good content. So what are you going to do? But it was interesting, talking about motorcycle statistics. This does not apply to Thailand. This is in the U.S. But motorcycle deaths have been on the rise the last 5 or 6 years straight. This has not escaped the National Highway and Traffic and Safety Administration, NHTSA, and Yami Noob actually did a thing on it. It was interesting. What the data sort of, if you look at the demographics and the circumstances, it sort of paints a picture, which I could agree with. People riding a motorcycle after many years of not riding, older, at night, with alcohol. Not good. My name is Rob, and thank you for supporting my YouTube channel. I meant every word I just said with respect.